Leopold, welcome to Beyond the Interface. Thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you on. So, Leopold, I think there's lots of different ways that we can describe you, right? You're a coach, you're a influence strategist. How would you describe your role today in your own words?
Okay, before I tell you,
Yeah.
may I ask you why you invited me to this podcast?
Sure. We invited you on because I've seen a lot of your coaching. I've seen how you're kind of working with the Noble Philosophy Academy. You're doing a lot around influence, right? And I guess on Beyond the Interface, we as designers, I think influence is a key part into what we do. But I think a lot of designers often struggle with that, right? So we thought it'd be great to have you on. It's a little bit different to our usual format, but it'd be great to hear a bit more about your background and a bit more about you. That's the main reason.
Thank you. And I like to jump in immediately into the topic because I just did something which might be interesting for your audience. So if you think about it, before I tell you what I do, what I just did now is I activated a principle of influence called the principle of consistency and commitment. This is very useful in interviews and if you're applying for a job, if you're pitching. So before you introduce yourself, ask the other person, why are you inviting me? Or what is it in my CV that made you choose me or select me, right? And now the other person is inclined to highlight the positive values, right? And by doing that, they are committed in public, like now, to your value. But it's a great technique, and I love these, and it's part of what I do. So to turn it back, makes sense?
It worked.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It's so powerful. Right? So I wanted to jump into something useful, but it's so powerful and it works every time, especially, by the way, in job interviews, because it's the first question you get asked, which is, tell us about yourself. And that's why most people, start rambling because I don't know where to start. I have lived a long life. Where should I start, right? And so, but when you ask the other person to tell you exactly why you selected me, why am I here? In your view, what is it about my CV? Now they are committing in public that I like this thing in your CV, for example. So you take that and you introduce yourself based on that selection.
Wow, that's so interesting. Like I've never actually thought about approaching an interview in that way, because I think you do go in expecting to just be asked, kind of questions. Obviously you ask your own questions, but you're preparing yourself to answer the questions, not ask them necessarily, especially not up front. I guess it's would you say it's like another kind of form of, I guess, like taking control in a way? Like, if you kind of go in with that kind of approach, you're kind of taking hold of the kind of conversation or the situation. Is that like a tactic to do that?
I wouldn't call it taking control. I would say people are influenced when you remind them of what they previously said and done. So for example, if I go to your website, let's say, and in your website you say, we value insane creative people, right? So you made a public commitment that that's what you value. So if I come to the interview or to the meeting and I remind you that, Jay, I love the fact that you value insanely creative people, I'm reminding you of a commitment you made, right? And in a sense, you cannot escape that. So you can't tell me, I just want a normal design or a normal whatever. You told me you want insanely creative people on your website, you see? So you're activating a psychological principle that makes them say yes to you, so it's less control, more of a good reminder, I would say, and more of a steering the conversation in a way that is for your benefit and for their benefit, because now the whole conversation is focused. You see, look what we just did here. Instead of me talking about who I am and my career and boring the audience, and I don't care who you are, right? The people don't care who you are. They care what they're going to gain out of your knowledge or wisdom or what have you, right? What's in it for them? So if I jump in and I introduce myself, which is another mistake of influence most people do, I'm boring the audience. I might sound as if I'm bragging about my career. And, I have 7 seconds to hook the audience. I lost them.
You definitely hooked us with that intro.
That's cool, huh?
That's brilliant. And you spoke about psychological principles there, right? These are quite interesting to me because I think in design, there is a lot about UX psychology. And I think people learn about how to kind of get customers to that next step and along the journey. But are there any other kind of principles that you use on a day-to-day with your coaching to kind of help influence and kind of get people in the right direction?
Yeah, of course. So there are a lot of principles, and it's good to see which problem they solve. So I'm trained under Dr. Robert Cialdini, and one of his 7 universal principle of persuasion are reciprocity, liking, unity, social proof, authority, consistency, and scarcity. 7 principles, right? But for you to see it, why you actually use them, or actually they're available every day, I want to put it in a framework, okay? Think about it this way. Every time you want to persuade someone, you have to start by building a relationship. You either build a relationship, or you maintain it, or you grow it. If you don't have a relationship with another person or with a brand, they will never say yes to you, right? So how do you build that relationship? Well, you activate principles of reciprocity, of liking, of unity. For example, if I'm seeing a new brand online, let's say, and I don't like it, I don't like their mission, they're not giving me anything like a gift for me to explore what they do, I'm less likely to say yes to them because I don't have a relationship with them. You see? Mm-hmm. So the first part of the influence process is to understand, where is the problem? Is it a problem of relationship? If yes, you activate these 3 principles. But that's not enough. I can have a great relationship with you, but you're uncertain about me and my service and my design, website, what have you, right? What do? Well, you activate principle like authority and social proof. Why? Because people are more likely to say yes to you if they have some certainty about you. They trust you. You see? So you have to provide evidence that you are legit. That's why you go to websites, sometimes you see testimonials, right? Why? Because the mind wants to say, yes, Warren is legit. He worked with 1, 2, 3, 4. I can make a better decision working with him. You see? But that's not enough. I can have a great relationship with you. I can decrease your uncertainty about me, but still there's one more problem. I don't have the motivation to act now, right? I'm all in, but not now. How many times you've seen that, right? And this is where you activate principle like consistency and scarcity. Tell people you have to act now because there's something at stake. There's limited availability. There's what have you, right? And so that's the process. So a designer, a human being, I would say, must understand that process in order to influence. So it's not one thing or one principle, it's a whole process.
If I'm to take everything that you've said on board, what I've kind of come to the conclusion on in this kind of brief moment here is that, and correct me if I'm completely kind of wrong here, it's about playing the long game. So not necessarily trying to influence and kind of get what you want like right here, right now, but maybe it's more so kind of playing it out and kind of building that kind of trust and relationship, showing your value in a consistent way until I guess that person or the business kind of more so gravitates to you rather than you chasing them. Is that correct? Or?
Yes, it's correct. I would say it's a bit incomplete.
Okay.
What I would add to it is the ethical part.
Okay.
So persuasion and influence must be ethical. And then absolutely it's about the long game. But you can be in a long game, but you're actually unethical, right? Like a Ponzi scheme. It's a very long game, but it's unethical. So the ethical part is absolutely essential because the same principles can be used for manipulation. And they've been used throughout history for manipulation. And that's why we always stress you have to make it ethical. And there's a way to make it ethical. So
Explain for the audience, what's the difference between approaching this ethically and from a kind of manipulative standpoint? Like, is there like I don't know, like a role-playing scenario that we can kind of play out where, it kind of shows this side is the ethical way that you should kind of approach it. And if you do it like this, then that's manipulative and you shouldn't really do that.
Yeah. I'll give you 3 pillars to think about. The first one is every statement you make, every time you persuade someone, the persuasion must be true. So it's based on fact. It's objective, right? So you cannot lie. The moment you lie about your idea, your offer, what have you, it's not true. So you're being unethical. So that's the first part. The second part is the persuasion must be natural. This needs a bit of unpacking. By natural, we mean that you cannot exaggerate the fact. So it exists naturally, but you cannot exaggerate it. For example, how many times you saw a workshop and people say, there is 5 seats left. And you come to the workshop and you say there's 100 or 20 seats left, right?
Yeah.
So the person is using the principle of scarcity, but he's exaggerating the fact. So you're being unethical. Now, I have to highlight, so many people do that. They don't know it's unethical. It's just a mistaken usage of the principle of scarcity, And that's why our role is to tell them, that's unethical, because the moment you do that, I'm going to lose trust in you. Right?
I guess they're placing a bet that the consumer, say, or the audience is never going to find out. So for instance, like, I've watched a lot of YouTube stuff and whatever, and like about startups and people setting up businesses like fashion companies, right? And there's a huge kind of strategy where you perceive scarcity, as you mentioned. So, you say limited time offers, or I'm releasing this new kind of set of kind of clothing or whatever. These new t-shirts are going to come out, but the limited quantities, or you just put sold out, but you haven't sold any.
Yeah.
Right. To kind of give that kind of feeling of someone's missing out. That seems to be a strategy that seems to be pretty effective. So a lot of companies, businesses, people are kind of like jumping on that kind of like rhythm. And you even see it with, 24 people are viewing this hotel, for instance. Like, how do you know that 24 people are really viewing this hotel? So I feel like it's hard to know as a consumer or an audience to kind of understand whether you're being manipulated or if people are actually being kind of genuine. Like, is there a way for you to kind of understand that, or?
So here's something interesting. Before I tell you what's the third pillar to be ethical, you will know that it's unethical, and therefore you're gonna be spending your time trying to hide the fact. So you are living in fear. Right? So if I lie to you, I'm living in fear. And if I'm living in fear, I will be making a mistake, which means the audience, the customer will expose you one way or another. See? Even if you don't have something live happening that so many people are viewing this website or room or what have you, mistakes will happen. And if you're exposed that you're lying, you're out. You see? Like, I see that a lot with some airlines. You go, you say, okay, there's limited seats. And then you book it, and then someone from a different laptop opens it, it's still the same seats. You go like, how can I trust you? So now I don't trust this specific airline, because I know they're lying. You see, I never book with them. So they lost me as a customer. See, people are smart nowadays, and they know these principles are happening, but at the same time, sometimes or more often, they cannot escape them. And that's a very interesting point, because it's a very psychological thing. You cannot escape being triggered by these principles. It happens on what we call system 1 thinking, which we can uncover now.
Yeah, I was going to say. So ultimately, manipulation has a time limit. Eventually, it's like a ticking timer that eventually you're going to kind of be exposed, and your reputation kind of goes down the drain.
And if you lose that, if you lose your reputation, that's it. You're doomed.
Yeah, reputation is everything. You mentioned system one.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it, but I want to complete the pillars. So we
Yeah.
said your persuasion has to be factual, true, and natural, so no exaggeration. And the last one, which is very important, it has to be beneficial and wise for both parties. So if I'm getting a win out of the persuasion and you're getting a loss, it's not ethical. So it has to be a win-win outcome for both of us. You see, if I'm selling you something, I deserve the money, but you deserve the outcome and the transformation, the value that I'm offering you. If there's no value exchange, it's a loss or it's a loss win, and therefore it's unethical. And that's very important, and that's why one of the things we always do when we're teaching ethical influence and persuasion is we say you need the principles not just to persuade others, but to protect yourself from others. Because once you understand the science behind these principles, you can protect yourself. Someone is using these principles in a non-ethical way. So I know how to react to it. Which brings us to system 1, system 2. So simply put, the Nobel Prize winner, Daniel Kahneman, he wrote this book, Thinking Fast and Slow. And he highlighted that in our mind, we have 2 modes of thinking, per se. It's not like we have 2 brains, but we have 2 modes of thinking, right? The first mode is called system 1, and the second is system 2. System 1 is the automatic brain. It's very unconscious. It seeks shortcuts. It's emotional, right? So, for example, if you're going for shopping or to the grocery, right? You need your system 1. You need your shortcut. I like this product. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, I need bread. You need that. System 2 is a rational mind. It's very effortful. It's very conscious. It requires a methodology. It requires time, right? And so that's what you use. For example, if you're learning how to drive, you need system 2 in the beginning, because you need to create that integration between your mind and your body and your hands and your legs. You're learning the rules. You need system 2. But then with time, driving becomes automatic, system 1. You see? Now, what's fascinating is that in his study, he discovered, let me ask you, how much do you think we use system 1 versus system 2 in terms of decisions?
As a percentage?
Percentage-wise, yeah. How many, in terms of decisions, what's the percentage that we employ system 1 versus system 2?
I don't know. I mean, it's impossible to say in exact, but I think from my standpoint, I would think majority system 1. Yeah. I think we're very instinctual.
You have a number in mind?
I'm gonna throw out 80.
So 80.
I was gonna say around 60 to 70, but yeah.
60, 70. You're optimistic people. Actually, in his discovery, it was 90%. Wow. And I think IBM replicated it, which is not final, but they discovered that now we're using it 95% of the time. Which is dangerous, right? But at the same time, you have to understand how this works. Because now you say, okay, as an ethical influencer, I need to understand that I cannot come and rationally win a pitch. First, I need to activate system 1, and all these principles that I explained of persuasion activate system 1. And then as an ethical person, I will give valid reason and evidence for system 2. And that's why you see manipulators, they activate system 1 and they ignore system 2, right? You see that a lot with, there are so many.
I'm just going to say it. Temu.
I'm going to tell you something which annoys me a lot. Because as a speaker and as a trainer, I've seen it so many times and it really annoyed me. There are so many speakers, especially motivational speakers, who sell at the end of their talk. Use a very, not all of them are, do it on purpose, but some of them use a very manipulative technique, which is while they're talking, every time they say a sentence or two, raise your hand,
Oh
say
yeah, I've
yes.
seen this.
Say yes. You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
And you go like, yeah. So what they're doing is they're priming you to say yes. So they're activating system one, and you, without knowing, you say yes. By the time they reach their offer, your mind is saying
The
yes.
best one that I've heard was I went to a presentation. I won't say kind of who for, but it ended up being like a pyramid scheme. This is like over 10 years ago. And they're going around the audience and they're presenting. And every time they made a point, they would say yes or yes. Like, that's the only option. Like, yes
Oh my
or yes.
God.
Am I right? Yes or yes.
Yes.
And then the
Yeah.
audience is saying yes, but that's the only option they're being given. And then eventually, obviously, they want to take your money. But it's, exactly what you're saying.
And here's the science behind it. And I've experienced it. And now when I share it, you will see it. So I remember I was attending one of these. And, I started in the beginning by saying yes because I agreed. But I used to teach philosophy. So I teach reason and rationality and logic. And for me, my mind will always step back and say, oh, wait a minute, what's happening here? So he was saying something I couldn't say yes to. But the whole room was like, hey, and the moment, after a couple of times, I didn't raise my hand and say yes. Guess what I felt? Physical pain. And there's been a study with a brain scan that showed that when people go off the group, right? They don't follow the group. There's two areas in their mind that lights up. The first area responsible for puzzlement. You're like, what's happening, right? And the second area is responsible for physical pain. We feel physically painful when we don't belong to a group. And that's why, again, back to manipulation, you've seen throughout history that so many people followed propaganda and cults and all of that because they don't want to experience that puzzlement and that physical pain. It's fascinating.
So system one is more emotional.
Yes.
Right?
More
And then
automatic.
System two is
emotional.
logical.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
And the advice Daniel Kahneman said is the best way to use these systems is one, to integrate them in your proposals, pitch, communication. So you have to start with system one and then offer valid reasons with system two. But also, if someone is using on you system one, the best way is to step back. Take a moment, think, and then act, which is very hard because we cannot do it every time. You face around 35,000 decisions every single day. You cannot treat every decision with system two. You'll be exhausted. And that's why we need system one, the automatic brain.
Do you think that price plays a big factor as well? Because with system one, I'm just thinking of like a Temu, for example, right? It's like just quick, really cheap items that you just keep adding to basket, right? Do you think that people might flip between system one and two based on price? Like if something's a higher price point, like if I'm purchasing a car, for example, I might want to be a bit more rational and use system two. So do you think price can also play a factor in how we use the two systems?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, you cannot escape system one. So it depends on the designer of the decision, the influencer. And this is a great way of thinking about it, especially for your audience, which I know some of them are designers. It's very important to think of yourself first and foremost as a designer of decisions. So whether you're designing a website or a proposal or a pitch, what you're really doing is you're designing decisions, right? So think about it this way. If I want to sell a Ferrari, should I put it in a car show? If I put it in a car show, the price of the Ferrari will look too high compared to the, Toyota, right? So how do you activate system one? Well, you put the Ferrari in a boat show, right? Because now the price of the Ferrari is so small compared to the boat. And that's how you use system one, because the mind is always looking for contrast. And if they see the contrast, Ferrari, $1 million is nothing compared to $5 million, so I'm more likely to buy it. See? But what these websites do is very interesting, because you look at the price and you see it's small, and you say, okay, I'm going to add to my basket. But what's happening is they're triggering system one because you don't need actually these items. And that's why, if I'm not mistaken, you have a limit to get free delivery, right? And so you keep adding because you want the free delivery, and you end up with items you don't want. So you're not using your system two.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It is. And these are interesting tactics, which I think sometimes people don't even realize. But like you said, it's about also going between the two, which I think is quite interesting what you was mentioning there, because even like, I'm just thinking about, someone buying like a rational decision, like a car in version 2, maybe it is that you're using version 1 to kind of really give like, free servicing or some of these freebies that you're going to give to kind of catch people in, or there's like an offer on at this stage. And I really like what you mentioned there about it's that journey, right? It's like, how do you catch them first and then move them on to that second stage? Right? Really
but here's how sometimes people, salesmen, designers, what have you, make big mistakes. During this Ramadan, I went to buy a car. I said, you know what? I want a new car. I really need it. So let me go and buy it. So I was using my system too. It wasn't an emotional decision. I made my calculation and I choose one car that is I like and it's affordable, and I'm going to go get it. And, I went because it's Ramadan. So I know there are offers. So I went to the shop, beautiful car, what have you. And then I said, okay, so what's the package? What's the price? What's the offer on this car? You know what he told me? He said, well, we have offers on all the cars, but not this one because we're selling like 90,000 per month. And he stopped. I'm like, oh, so system 1 was going to be activated because I like the car and it's Ramadan. There's, let me buy it. But I stepped back. I was like, no, I'm not going to buy it. And I didn't. And he lost me. You see, the principles are always available. What he should have done is say, okay, we don't have an offer on this car, but we can give you this additional thing. The moment he packaged it with something interesting, with something, even if it's tiny, small, right? I'm more likely to say yes, because I can see there's a scarce, limited time to buy that bundle. They missed that and they lost me. And I'm sure they lost so many people because of that.
How do we apply this to an office setting? So designers will, or a lot of designers will struggle with influence. And, you get this whole, we need a seat at the table. We need to be listened to, we need to be design driven.
Yeah.
Our stakeholders are very business and commercial orientated, this kind of thing. How do designers get their voice, or more importantly, get their voices heard? And how can they influence from inside?
This is a very important question. We could spend hours talking about it. Here's what I discovered from my experience. Designers are very good in understanding the user, but not the stakeholder. Right? And I've seen a lot of designers who kind of wear hats. Now I'm designing, and they design the project, what have you. But then when they go to present or when they live their life, they're not designing. And I think that's a big mistake. Right? Design is a way of living, is a way of thinking, is a way of behaving. And you have to live that way. Right? There's no way around it. But if I can give you like a tip or a technique. So I would say first thing is every designer out there should learn the art of communication and influence, because it's more important than the design. You can have the best design ever, the best project ever. If you cannot communicate your worth and what's in it for them, for the stakeholders, if you not drive them to say yes to you, that's it. The idea is out. Right? So this is something you can learn. You have to learn it. Unfortunately, most of the time, it's not top of their mind. They think, I want to master Figma. I want to master that software, what have you. But they ignore the second part. But if I can give you one tool I would say there's a lot actually. I'm trying to pick one that is simple to apply. I would say one of the best ways to influence stakeholders is to try to co-create with them. So instead of you coming and saying, hey, Jay, I have this project, I want to pitch it to you or present it to you, step back and in the middle of your work, try to co-create with them. And one of the best way to co-create with them is not to ask for feedback. If you ask for feedback, you get a critic. Rather ask for advice. So come to your stakeholder, to your manager, whatever, and say, I need your advice on this. How do you think I should look at it? When you do that, they will feel they are in authority and they will activate their wisdom and help you actually with valid advice. And if you do that consistently, you're co-creating with them. So by the time you reach the presentation to present it, they will like, I've been part of that process. You see? Again, it depends who the stakeholder, if you're meeting for the first time or not, but that's like one technique that is easy to apply.
It's a great one because, yeah, you get them invested as well, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of is similar to one that I've kind of learned over the years, which was like, this is probably more of a, maybe not unethical, but this is probably more of a tactic I've kind of like used in the past is always presenting two options, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's no longer a case of, oh, we're not going to do this. It's which one are we going to do, right? So you're changing the dynamic. I felt that sometimes when you go and say, hey, we want to do this, you just present one option. It's like, it's a yes or no. But when it's like, hey, we want to do this. And as you said, co-create with them and say, look, we've got a couple of options. We want to get your feedback. It's then a question of which one. So it's not like, no, it's which one are we going for, right?
I'm not sure about options when it comes to big ideas or strategies. I'm all for options in the middle of the process, right? A couple of days ago, I was presenting a strategy to someone. And she said, can you please give us two options for the strategy? And I said, no. Because do you want to work with someone who's uncertain? Right? Because that's what it means to give you two options for the strategy. I'm telling you, I don't know which way to go. You can go this way or this way or this way. Let's choose. So it's very subjective, right? And I'm not saying the strategy should be, absolutely objective. Of course not. There's always uncertainties. But based on the facts and the insights and the process we have, this is the direction we're recommending. And you want to work with someone who's certain, has some certainty about that. But I would present options. Which problems are we really solving now? Which pain point? Which direction you think we should activate first? That's where the option work, I think, in terms of ideas. I used to work in advertising, and honestly, there was nothing worse than going to a client and presenting 3 ideas. And it always made no sense to me. I was like, it doesn't make sense. It's not I like it. I don't like it. It doesn't work this way, right? So yeah, that's what I would say on options.
Interesting. So what I'm hearing is you need to have high conviction.
Absolutely.
Because that's what will build greater confidence in the person that you're kind of presenting to. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How does one...
But not stubbornness, because some designers become very creative.
Not necessarily stubbornness, but I guess my question is like, how does one develop that sense of high conviction where they can present something with almost 100% certainty that this is the right thing to do, and I don't necessarily need to lean on options or presenting options? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you build up that confidence to have that conviction?
2 things I would say. Process and knowledge. So first and foremost, confidence is built, and is built by knowledge. There's no other way you can gain confidence in anything unless you learn it and you make mistakes and you fix it and you build on knowledge and you integrate different, that's how you build confidence in any area of life. So that's important from an individual perspective. But also to build confidence to reach that place is you need the process. And the process is, what you're doing is you're validating every step of the process, right? So I'm uncovering insights and problems. If I want to gain confidence, I need to go and validate whether these are the problems I need to solve, you know? And so it's through milestones. That's how you reach a step where you go, okay, now I'm confident based on these facts and the process and the discoveries that I went through, I'm confident that this will work. Right? Now, here's the thing. You might be mistaken. You know, we're humans. We can err. And, you know, human psychology is hard. Sometimes it's hard to change behavior, all of that. But if you err from that process, you know how to change it because you were objective in the process. And that's why I hate it when people tell me creativity is subjective. It's absolutely not true. It's like you're telling me if I take a brush and put it like this, and now I have a valuable painting. No, that's a subjective painting. It means nothing. See, the process, the creative process, is an objective process.
No, I agree. And it's interesting that you say that because, yeah, we hear that a lot, right? We hear a lot that when someone doesn't agree with what you've done, it's like, oh, it's your opinion, or it's like, you know, it's not how I see it. Do you think, Leopold, that it's important to bring that evidence and show that process, right? To kind of bring people along the journey and your kind of objectiveness with it around it?
Yeah, absolutely. People want to be on the journey, especially stakeholders, your team. You know, the more they're aware what's happening, and the more you're collecting facts and building on these facts, the more your process is objective, and the more likely you'll reach a good place. You know, so that's important. I mean, think about it in a much simpler situation. I wrote a post about it a couple of months ago. My wife was sick. I took her to the hospital. And then a man comes in and he's like, come into my office. Just wearing a t-shirt. You know, I'm like, okay, went to him, but who are you? My system one is saying, who are you? I couldn't trust him. You know why? He's not wearing a white robe. My mind is telling me if I'm to meet a doctor, he has to be wearing the white robe or something that indicates his authority. You see, this is a very slight, tiny cue, but it's important for system one. So at the outset, I couldn't trust him. And then he committed a deadly sin. You know what he said after he examined my wife? Okay, so we have two options. We can either do a blood test or start with medication. Which one do you like? I'm like, what? What did we do? We changed the doctor. He's uncertain.
Yeah.
Right? I'm coming to you because you're the authority. You cannot give me options. You know? And it's the same in the world of creativity and design and business. You know, I need to build that authority, that credibility, and prove it to you so the options are limited. So you can say yes, right? And so I can give you the desired results.
But it all needs to connect, right? It's like you said, not provide the options, but then also, like you said, he needs to wear the white coat, right? He needs to have the accreditation when you walk in. He needs to, you know, look like he's done this for some time, right? It all needs to kind of connect, right? For you to feel, again, we come back to persuasion, right? That I trust this person.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's why I remember back in the days when I was a creative director in advertising, you know, okay, I have long hair, can look cool to some people, but so many people were they didn't look serious because I'm creative and I can be, you know, it's not true. You know, first of all, creativity is the most serious job ever, right? In design, all of that, because it's changed behavior, it's changed culture, it's changed the world, right? But also, I want to trust you. I want to make sure that you are serious in your posture, in the way you get dressed, and you know, you don't have to wear a suit, of course not. But I need to find these clues to trust you, right? And that's why I think there's this Apple syndrome. Like as a creative, I always want to be this wearing this, black shirt or what have you. I have to earn it, man. I'm, just for today I wore this, but I'm always in a black shirt. But
sorry, it's not turtlenecks.
no,
It's not
yeah.
turtlenecks.
But the point is, you have to earn it, right? And I know it sounds small, but it makes a big difference to the client. I want to sit with someone who's serious. It's my business. I'm giving you my business. You cannot be, no, it's serious.
I get that because I remember when I was consulting, I've been at a few digital agencies and stuff, and day to day I'll be like this. If I'm in our own office, etc. But if we're face to face with the client, then I might put on. It'll be a cool blazer,
Yeah,
but it'll be a blazer.
Yeah,
it might be on top of this, but it just changes the whole aesthetic silhouette. It kind of creates that kind of seriousness when you're having that conversation.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that. And I've even noticed it with, so my current workplace, super casual. Like people wear shorts to the office, like whatever, like trainers, whatever, like very casual. Business is extremely serious. And I've noticed that there's certain moments where senior leaders would throw on a blazer, right? And they'll be in a meeting.
Yeah.
And that changes the entire environment, like completely. You just know as soon as they walk in and they've got that blazer on, we're going to have a serious conversation.
Yeah.
Or what we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
We need to focus. So I do understand that. It does actually make sense.
I'll tell you two things. One, there's a study that's been made on jaywalking. So they tested the first week, a man, broke the law, jaywalking, wearing jeans. And the same man, he wore a suit and jaywalked. And they tested the result, how many people followed the man with the jeans or with the suit. 350% more people followed the man with the suit. It's a superficial cue, of course, but that's system one activated. That's one. Two, our body language, our posture matter. So if I go to a meeting and I sit like this, today I want to present this idea that I've been working on. I can't trust you. You're closing your body, And that's why, most designers, they don't learn this. But if you're sitting on the table, I've been working, look what just happened now. I'm dominating the table. I'm talking to you. There's dominance on the table. There's seriousness. So these cues matter, and you can't just ignore them. And in the beginning, by the way, when you learn them, they become, they are a bit pushy because you don't know what's happening. But later on, they become part of your character. And that's why I always say, what you designs you, right? What you design in the world in terms of product or service or even your voice or yourself, what's happening? It's designing you. It's shaping your character. It's shaping your confidence. It's shaping everything about you. That's the power of design.
Yeah. This is brilliant. And, I think some really great takeaways here. And what I love the most about what you said was it's not necessarily the design. Like it doesn't stop with the actual design itself, right? It's the whole pitch. It's the selling. It's how you present yourself. It's everything, right?
Yeah.
Leopold, I'm just also thinking a bit about another dilemma that designers have, which is around speaking in public, right? I've had this conversation multiple times with designers in my team. They feel they don't have the confidence to speak in public as much as say like a product manager or, someone that's in more senior leader role. Why do you think this is, and how can designers overcome this fear? Or why do you think designers even have this fear more than others?
I can't be certain, and definitely every person is different. But what I've noticed is probably a cultural or a perception issue. So we think of designers and creatives in general as people who are backstage. They do the work, but then they give it to the man, to the salesman or whatever to sell their work, right? And I've seen that back in my agency time that, I'm just a creative man. I'm coming up with the ideas. and then I'm going to give it to the client service and you go and sell the work. Fortunately for me, I discovered that that's not true. And this what helped me amplify my career, because I was like, wait a minute, if it's my idea or if I'm involved with the idea, I want to be the one presenting it. And when you present your work, it makes a complete difference to the stakeholders, to yourself, to everything. So that's, I think, the why that we don't think about it as important. But for me, the ability to speak, especially on stage, public speaking or pitching, presenting your ideas, is the number one most important skill ever. Especially now in the world of AI, I can go to ChatGPT and write a beautiful post and put it out there. Stand on stage. See, it's a platform to show your worth, your real worth as a thinker, as a creative, as a designer, as a human, what have you. And the solution is simple. Just learn it. That's it. It's really simple.
How does someone just learn it? As in, put themselves out there, just sign up to like speaking opportunities, or I don't know. Where does it start? Does it start externally or does it start in-house at your company?
So here's something I learned. If you practice the wrong thing, you'll only get better at getting worse. Right? So you can go put yourself out there and practice, and your friends will tell you, you did great, yeah, but you're just getting worse. Right? So my advice is find a coach, find a program, and get into the science of communication and speaking. But, and this is for anyone who's thinking about it, this is a big mistake everyone does. Speaking is actually not about speaking. It's not about the delivery and how do I stand on stage and deliver. No. Public speaking is private thinking. The first thing about public speaking is learning how to think, how to structure your ideas, to use them in a conversation, right? Once you have a structure for your ideas, you know the framework to structure your ideas, and then you know how to add the meat to it, which is the content, the delivery part becomes easy, right? It's important, it's crucial for sure, but that's the last step. So if you're considering a program in public speaking, look at the program, and if it's mainly about delivery, ignore it. Because public speaking is not about delivery, it's about thinking. See? So that's my advice. Learn how to structure your ideas. And guess what? You use it everywhere. Right? Like now we're having a free flow conversation. I'm not preparing what you're going to ask me. You're not, right? Why? Because I'm structuring my ideas. You're structuring your idea. Okay, I asked him this. We have a structure. That's what matters. You should be able to take a presentation, any presentation. By the way, there's an important point. And I'm writing a post about it. One of the fear of public speaking is coming from what I call public revealing.
Okay.
And people are a bit scared of revealing who they are, especially in a business setting. So they say, well, I'm pitching an idea. I'm just going to talk about the idea. But in my mind, as a stakeholder, I'm like, yeah, but why you? Why am I listening to Jay and not Warren? Right? He can take your presentation and present it. Why you? And that's why my advice is always give people a piece of you. Right? I need to know why you are the messenger of that message.
What do you mean by that? Are you trying to say, I guess, kind of start off like telling the audience about yourself in terms of like kind of who you are, your interests, that kind of thing? Or does that part of you come out in terms of your behavior, how you speak?
Yeah.
Like how does one decipher what that is?
So many things. So the behavior is actually a consequence, but the easier way to do it is just to inject something like a story or an observation that you made about that insight or problem you're solving. I'll give you an example. I was delivering a presentation on parenting, and it was a strategic presentation. And the first thing I did is I showed them how I treat my daughter and how I created a system to help her write every day, right? And why it works. So this is my story. It's coming from my observation, my daughter, it's mine. It's a piece of me that I just put on the table. But it has to be designed in a way that it's not just about you. The lesson, the message is for them. You see, it's my story, but the message is for you. And that's where the technique comes in. How do you do that? To tell a story, because I don't want to listen to your story if it doesn't mean anything to me. Again, system one will say, so what? See?
Yeah, it's that structure, but it's like how you put it into it in a way that it makes sense,
That's
right?
the beauty of it.
Yeah,
right?
I like that. And I think also, Leopold, is that one thing that I've noticed is whenever I've done any public speaking over the years, I think internally I just wanted to kind of get it out and do it, right? But once I got more confident, I actually realized that it's not about me just speaking, getting out. It's like, did anyone in the audience actually get what I was trying to say, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's the other challenge, is keeping people engaged, right? You've seen it where if you're actually sat watching someone, how long does it take for them to get the phones out or just start like thinking about something else, or someone that's just completely lost somewhere, right? So it's like the real challenge is like actually keeping them engaged, right? I guess the structure plays such a big part.
Absolutely. And that's where you reframe the question from what do I want to talk about to where do they want to go? Right? And this is important also in persuasion, because you have the current behavior and you have the desired behavior. And your role as a speaker, communicator, influencer is to take them from the current to the desired. But there are problems here, right? You have a pull problem and a push problem. The pull problem are the pains and the gains, right? Like they have some pain you have to uncover for them, but also they have gains, and that's what will take them to the desired behavior. But also they have pulls that will pull them from listening to you. And these pulls can be comfort and anxieties, right? Even when you're speaking on stage, it's so comfortable for me to zone out. So if I understand this, I know that I need to shock you or to grab your attention or to do something and give you a valid reason why I deserve your attention. See? And that's what you design. You're designing for attention. If I get your attention and I know how to hold it, you're more likely to be affected by my message.
And that takes a lot of practice. That takes a lot of practice, right? And like, and like you said, you got to do it, learn it the right way as well. It's important.
Yeah. But if you go on stage and you do this and I don't know what, it doesn't mean anything, And that's why I don't like it when I hear people saying, body language is everything and doesn't matter what you say. It's not true. Words matter, and how you inject them in the mind of your audience will make the big difference. Sure, delivery is important and it will change the dynamics, but your words and me feeling that you actually grappled with these ideas and you struggled to understand them and you have stories to back them up make me feel that you're worth listening to. That's what public speaking is about. It's a design process before it's a stage thing. And that's why I always say what you do backstage puts you on stage. That's the backstage process.
Preparation is key. And I think we're in a world where, AI is disrupting everything, right? And it feels to me as though public speaking, presenting, etc., is still heavily weighted on the human side. But do you see a world where AI could disrupt this space or kind of help people on this journey?
Do I see?
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, everything is possible nowadays. There's a way to, now even there are some softwares where you can just create a an avatar and they present your whole course and do the whole thing. But I'm not worried about that. Because at the end of the day, we, in order to survive as a human beings, we need to keep on building our self-esteem. The moment you start faking your self-esteem, you can't live. You can't live. You cannot resist. Why should I live? I'm faking it, right? So as a human beings, if we don't keep on building our self-esteem, we have no reason to live. Communication, public speaking, being part of a society, giving value, even if AI can do it, is part of the process of building my self-esteem. Because I need to know that I'm capable of creating and I'm worthy of it. You see? And these are the two components of self-esteem. And so if I don't have this, what am I living for? So I'm not worried about the AI, you know. It's good. Let's have it. But let's raise the awareness and think about ideas to make AI really help us build better. That's what I would say.
Do you see ways in which AI could actually help people to kind of become like better public speakers, to be better presenters, or just help formulate their ideas? If you were to use AI in this process, how would you use it?
Of course. By the way, many years ago, not too many, like maybe 5 years ago, I did a program with Stanford on design thinking. And at the end of the program, I had to present a project, and I did it on public speaking. The professor told me, great idea, only not doable. It requires a lot of, you can't do it, Now, you can do it like this with AI. Only in 5 years, right? So there's so many, I think, good usage. There are some apps now, you can record yourself and, the AI will tell you whether your tone is good, whether your volume is good, whether you're articulating properly. This is very helpful, right? Now, would it replace a good coach? Absolutely not. That's the power of coming in with an experience and uncovering the pieces of Warren, right? Can AI do it? I don't know. Probably it will reach a time where it can do it. But do I want to do it with AI? Or I've become a friend with all my clients. We have good relationship. I can make the job done with AI, but I cannot build a relationship with AI.
To your point, the lived experience that you wanted to inject into your presentations, the AI can't do that, right? It doesn't have any like lived experiences. So I guess it can only go so far. It can only be so engaging, right?
Yeah. And I hold that AI is not conscious, and it can never be conscious. And again, this is a whole philosophical debate. But consciousness is absolutely crucial for a human being, because it's their ability to identify facts and elements from the world and integrate them into their minds and then do something with them, right? So I become better every day through observation, by watching a bird, by watching how my daughter is struggling with something. These lived experience fuel my consciousness, right? And that's how I become better. And AI doesn't have that. Sure, it has data and all of that, but it doesn't have that, and doesn't have the need for that fuel, nor anything at stake. Why do I need that fuel? But that's a whole, I think, philosophical discussion. I'm happy to talk about, but it will take us other places.
It is a big.
But I can't claim that I know, because it's what's happening is crazy in terms of AI.
It's hard to see how we'll go in the future, right? And how much it will develop over time. But yeah, some great points there, Leopold, around AI. And, I think we're just coming into the end of our time with you. So
already, just
warming up.
Warming up.
Yeah, look, I mean, Leopold, you've spoken about a lot of amazing things today. And, where can people learn more about this from you? Where can they get more insight about some of the things you've been talking about today?
They can check my website, novelphilosophy.academy. But also, I put a lot of valuable content on LinkedIn with some tips on persuasion and speaking. So just if you connect with me on LinkedIn, Leopold Ajami, I'd love to connect and share ideas.
Amazing. It's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Great conversation, and even myself, for sure, for you, Warren, as well. Personally, we can take away a lot of tips that you've mentioned and start applying them. So I'll feed back to you how they go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Leopold.
Thank you.